welcome everybody to the Corgi Town USA podcast. Here every Thursday, you will find us talking about all things Corgi.
Yes.
And I'm Candy. This is Chuckles, the president of the Corgi Committee and Corgi Town USA.
Hi, I'm Catherine, and I am Kat Cohen, Corgi Town USA. I'm the executive producer,
And
Corgi
TED Talk speaker.
and TED Talk speaker, and Corgi mom, and I don't know,
Maybe Digby will join us later.
Yeah, maybe Digby will join us later. And today I'm babysitting or stepmomming to an Australian cattle dog. That's a new
stepmomming.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see.
Scandalous.
So scandalous.
Well, today I'm excited because I get this question a lot at Corgi Town USA about bringing home a baby to corgis.
Yeah.
And the thing about corgis, I've had 6. I've fostered a couple of corgi mixes. I'm going to have another one, so we're going to have 4 again soon. But I can't imagine having to care for tiny humans. I haven't been a human mom. And so I can only imagine how difficult that can be because corgis take a lot of energy.
They do.
And take a lot of time. And so I know that anytime you bring animals, you bring dogs into the home, you have to be careful, of course. And they say don't leave them alone, until they're used to each other. And there are all these things that I am not an expert on. And I get the question. So I wanted to bring on an actual expert today.
Yes.
And her name is Brittany Steinkirchner. I hope that I said that correctly.
Yes.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love your corgis. So for those watching, for those listening, I've just been not a stalker, a fan of Brittany and her adorable corgis. And she has an adorable little girl now and another one on the way, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so exciting. And so we'll start by talking about your corgis. You have a fluffy Bernie and a tricolor Oliver. And we would love to hear about them.
Yes. So my tricolor Oliver was my first corgi. He is about to be 5 in April. I got him.
Early birthday.
Yes, he was the runt of the litter, so he was kind of a baby. I fell in love with him. He's very standoffish to other people, but he's a very sweet little dog.
You have a shy corgi?
Yes, and he's very bossy. He tells me what to do, tells the kid what to do. And then Bernie is my 3-year-old Fluffy, and he's a sable. He's very sweet, like Oliver's total opposite. So he loves to snuggle, loves to play, loves to give kisses, and they're like completely polar opposites.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. My first corgi, Lilo, I said goodbye to him. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years now. 2 years ago, but he was a sable, and I said goodbye to him. But he was like that. He was so sweet. He was so docile. And we talk about these different personalities. And Chucky's the baby. I have my other rescues as well. Chucky's the little baby. Well, for now, till next month. But he's the most headstrong. He's sweet, but he is the most headstrong, most opinionated that I've ever had. So, getting used to that after Lilo, who was just so chill, just up for whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, the corgi sass. Here it is. So I love that you have the 2 polar opposites. Like you're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Oh yes.
So tell me, what made you want corgis? What made you decide to get a corgi?
When I got Oliver, it was like kind of the start of the corgi craze on social media, where like everybody started to fall in love with them. And so when I finished college, I asked for one for my graduation gift, and my husband got him for me. And then we fell in love with him. He's very sweet, but he's just got like a personality all his own. And so then we moved a couple times, moved across this country, and then we decided we wanted another one. So we got Bernie, and he was He's a handful. He's still kind of, and he's 3, but he acts like a puppy. So
Aw.
he's a mess. But we just fell in love with the breed. I love that they're so stubborn and bossy, and they might talk, like they just are so loud all the time. And I don't know, I kind of like thrive in chaos, so they're perfect for that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I feel like we thrive in chaos.
Yeah, we do.
I
Sadly.
mean, maybe that's a corgi people thing.
Oh,
Maybe that's why we like the corgis. That could be
Yeah.
the reason.
We know no other way.
So my life is constant chaos, and so they just fit right in.
So you decided to get another one because you had such a good experience with your first one?
Yeah, he was really easy to train, easy to housebreak. I lived in an apartment when I got him, so he didn't have a whole lot of accidents and was really easy to train. They're relatively healthy. They're small. They do shed a lot, but like that was not something I cared about. So he was just like the best little dog, and I loved him so much I wanted another. And so then we got another because I thought he needed a best friend. And it took him a while to warm up to each other, but they're there now.
I love that so much. We talk about the OCD being real, the obsessive corgi disorder.
Yes.
It's like the joke, but it is real. I mean, I've had 6 and I've had foster mixes, and now I'm gonna have another one. I don't know. I don't know when to stop.
I want
It's a
another
problem.
one, but my
It's a
husband
problem.
will freak out, so that's probably not gonna happen for a while.
Well, and you have a little girl. You want to tell us about your daughter?
Yes. So I have a daughter named Ariel. She is 19 months.
Aw.
She is like a corgi in person. She's absolutely the most headstrong, stubborn little girl ever. So I have my hands full. She's very sweet.
She fits right into the pack.
Oh yeah. I would
have
if she was a dog, she would be a corgi.
Oh
my.
I mean, I love that. I feel like if I had a human baby
that it would be a corgi.
Yeah, that it would be corgi too. So, and you have another one on the way.
Yes, I am pregnant with another little girl. So I'm really looking forward to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Giving my boys somebody else to play with. They're like still kind of warming up to Ariel. She's loud, and so they're just kind of trying to get used to that. But they do like her food, and so it's a good way to get along.
Always little things dropping around.
Oh yes, constant crumbs all the time.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny though. Well, I really want to. I think our audience. This is so valuable. Again, I know that you are a very busy mom.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on. And I think our audience could really benefit if you tell us what that's like bringing home a baby with corgis, because I do get the question, what does that look like? What do I need to do to prepare?
Right.
Because, we want everybody to be safe. Obviously, safety is number one. And can you tell us, did you prepare beforehand? Were you nervous about it?
Yeah, I was actually very nervous. I actually have 4 dogs, 2 which are my corgis, and I was just really anxious about bringing my daughter home because it's a big adjustment for everyone. So prior to her birth, we did her nursery, and the dogs were allowed to go in there. I think that was really helpful because I kind of like learned the space and associated the things in there with her. And then when I had her, I had my husband bring home a blanket from the hospital before I came home that had her smell on it to try to get him used to her.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that helped. When we brought her home, they were all really interested in her, but they were acted so weird and didn't necessarily want to be around me. And I think that might have just been like picking up on, oh, this is a mama. We don't want to mess with a mom. But, we never left him alone with her. We tried to like give him treats when they were around her to show that she's good and that they can trust her. We also made sure that our dogs have their own space. I think that was really important. So my corgis had access to a room that my daughter can't get into because they need to be able to get away from her because she can be a lot. And so they have their own crates, and they like to go in there on their own accord and, get their time away from her.
Sure.
We also don't like feed them. Like when they're eating, she's not allowed to like be around that or touch their food or really come into their space. We're trying to set really appropriate boundaries because I think I don't want, dogs can be unpredictable. So, and
Right.
toddlers are too. So I just do my best to make sure that they're always like, know that they are safe. And, we're going to make sure she doesn't do anything that annoys you. And I mean, she still does, but we really have tried to set boundaries. And I think that that's helped a lot.
Well, I love that. And I want to say I love that you've considered the dogs as well.
Mhm.
And because that's got to be a hard balance, because I
Right.
think as a mom, your first thing would be, oh, the baby's number one, of course, the baby I have to protect, the baby has to be happy. But I'm hearing a lot of, well, we want the dogs to be happy as well, and be respected and have their own space. And I love that. That's amazing.
Well,
is
they were
beautiful.
my first babies, so I couldn't like live with myself because it's a big adjustment. I mean, they went from getting to go to the park probably every week to not getting to go as much, and so we tried to like make it easier on them in other ways. Like we take them on walks with her, and they seem to really enjoy that. And we got a bigger yard, so they just like get to go play. I mean, they fence fight. Playing is subjective, but they like to do that. And I think I've really tried to make them still feel like they're important and part of my life, because they are.
Yeah,
of course.
So
Yeah.
it was an adjustment for them. I definitely think Oliver was pretty mad at me when I brought her home. He wouldn't even look at me. He just was not happy. So,
Well,
but
he wasn't the baby anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, he adjusted really well. And now when she eats, they like surround her high chair and catch all the stuff.
Aw.
So
Aw.
It's the magical food
It's
baby.
the magical food baby. Yeah. Well, I think when I'm the youngest, and I think when I was born, my brother, who was the youngest, didn't adjust well either. My human brother. So
Has
it's
he
the same
now?
thing. No, still hasn't. Still resents the fact that I'm now the youngest and the cutest. So yeah. So there you go. Same thing. And then when I wonder if when your new daughter comes along, if if all four dogs and Ariel end up, kind of ganging up and going, what do we do with the new thing? What do we do with this new other? What do we do with it? And they all sort of have their own little clique.
That or
I
boss
actually do
baby.
see that happening. That would be
Or the new one will show up and just rule everyone.
Oh yeah, that's possible
it's
too.
also possible too.
Like the movie Boss Baby. Like
Boss
there's a
Baby.
new sheriff in town.
Yeah, that's right.
And having daughters. I mean, you're gonna have and daughters and corgis, you have a house full of bosses.
Oh yes. My corgis think they're in charge, and they really are. I mean, they kind of get to run the roost for most part. So
It's something that just happens. You get
Oh.
them and you think, no, I'm the boss. And then
No,
you realize, wait a
no.
minute, these corgis kind of
No.
run the show.
No, I throw my hands up in the air a lot.
Yeah.
I find it a
so
lot.
do
And
I.
and I've always had cats, and cats rule the roost, and I still have my sweet Naboo, and
Naboo, who's not happy with
who's
you
not
right
happy.
now.
No, not happy with me at all. But so cats are very, very, very bossy. And then came a corgi, and whole new meaning to the word bossy.
Tame the corgi and all the corgis' corgi friends.
Yes.
I've always said corgis are the cats of the dog world. They're kind of like their own
that.
thing. Mine are like Oliver is so standoffish. He does not want anything to do with my husband ever, and like goes out of his way to be around me. And it is just the funniest thing because my husband's never done anything to make him feel like that. He's very selective on who he allows to get into his bubble.
How does your husband feel about that? Does it break his heart, or is he just?
Oh yes. So Bernie loves him, so he just, I guess, loves Bernie more. So Oliver Oliver really doesn't want anything to do with him. I don't know. He's just very selective about who he will allow to pet him and be around him.
Okay.
I have one like that. I had Lilo, and then
Right.
I had Zelda, a little girl I lost in 2015. And then I got Booger, and I got Hammer first. And Hammer I actually got from a guy living in a van.
Yes.
And Hammer's one of my rescues. But Hammer, I mean, again, he's the sweetest, just most docile, precious little dog. And he's just amazing. He's inherently amazing. But he is like that, like you described about Oliver being selective, very shy. He doesn't like a lot of noise. He doesn't like a lot of minutia. And it just cracks me up because corgis are literally noise and minutia.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when I got him. I was like, I didn't know they made shy corgis. That's a thing. So Hammer was my first shy corgi.
And he is very shy.
He is. So he sounds a little bit like Oliver. Like, I don't know. Are you cool? Let me think about it.
Yes.
Oliver was also the runt, so I kind of like attribute a lot of that to that because he was like bottle fed because he was so little, and so he's just like his own little type of dog.
That is so fun. Well, tell us about your other dogs too. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so I have a poodle mix, and she's 12, and I've had her since I was like in high school. And she's just, her name's Zoe. She's real sweet. And then I've got a Rottweiler Golden Retriever mix named Buster, and he is 11. So they were actually my very first dogs. And then I brought the corgis home, and they were like, what are you doing? These dogs are loud. They try to hurt us. They boss us around.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny. I love it. And does the poodle mix shed?
No, which is nice because all my other dogs do.
Golden retriever. And we always joke, that it's not even a joke.
No.
I say that we vacuum in our spare time. It's not a joke.
It's
we
not
really
a joke.
do.
We do.
That's what we do. We vacuum.
Right, I asked for a Roomba for Mother's Day. So I mean,
how is it working for you?
Great. I recommend it for anybody who has corgis because I'm constantly cleaning up dog hair. So
yeah.
I haven't been very impressed with mine because it doesn't seem to be able to handle it. You have to replace the parts, but it seems like in between each session, I have to clean out the wheels and pull all the stuff out because it's like I can't handle this.
Oh yeah, no, I have to do that too.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I've gotten to where I'm just like, I'll just vacuum. I don't want to clean.
Well, I try to do the Roomba every once in a while. I'm just wondering, maybe Roomba should, send us their newest, most upgraded model, and we can test it out.
Yes.
Corgi tested, Corgi mom approved.
Yeah. Do you hear that, makers of Roomba? We would love
right.
to help you calibrate a corgi.
A corgiable,
a Herculean.
Yeah, a corgiable Roomba. I think that's a word. I think it's a word.
I do like that it gets under furniture.
Yes.
That's like typically where the dog hair in my house, I don't know about yours, it tends to accumulate. So under furniture and corners, and in my kids' room always. So
you pick up the baby and you dust the dog fur off of the baby.
Yeah, I actually did when she was really little. She would constantly have hair just like on her face, and that's so bad. I was like, it's building her immune system. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Well, and she'll get used to it as she grows up. She'll probably end up having corgis, and then we talk about that. You wake up, it's in your eyes, it's in your nose. We'll be sitting here doing the podcast and be like, blowing it off the microphone.
Yeah, so there's corgi hair all over the mic. There's corgi hair on your mic. There's corgi hair on this lovely desk.
In my lipstick.
There's corgi hair all over me now in your lipstick. Yeah, it's corgi central.
Oh yes.
So, okay, since we're really good at segueing here and getting completely off topic,
that's
right. I apologize. So you talked about you were nervous and that you took some steps beforehand and that you've made many changes to accommodate both baby and beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Safety, obviously, most important. What advice would you give to anyone bringing home a baby that has corgis?
Give it time. Your dogs are not probably going to love the baby right away. Mine did not. They were interested in her, but I think that they were scared, so they kept their distance. And just make sure that you set boundaries for your kid and your dog. So don't let dog all over your baby or in their space. And on the other end of that, don't let your toddler crawl all over your corgi because that's not fair. That's also something that you probably shouldn't do. I think, making sure both of them feel respected and listened to and just allowing them to have their own space has been really helpful. So I definitely recommend that. Oh, also, when we brought my daughter home, a lot of people were like, you shouldn't let your pet sleep in your room because she slept in a bassinet in our room, but I still let them because I didn't want to make a bunch of changes all at once. And so now we're all just one big family. So.
Oh, that's precious.
That is wonderful. And you don't have the experience, but I'm wondering, did you find it easier to bring the baby after the Corgis, or might it have been easier to get the Corgis after the baby? Not that you can always plan these things, but does it?
Oh,
Do you
baby
think
after the Corgis for sure.
okay.
Yeah, because I think having to potty train with a toddler, do all of that aspect would be really hard now. Like, since they're already pretty self-sufficient for the most part. Like, I can let them out. They can tell me when they need to go to the bathroom. Like, they're on a schedule. They're pretty predictable. I felt like it was easier to do it like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd bring home another Corgi today if my husband would let me, but
you wind up with a menagerie like us.
Oh, I know. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I want another one, but I think my neighborhood would also freak out because my dogs are like the loudest ones out there. So,
yeah. And
I can relate.
yeah. And I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think for those watching the Corgi Town USA podcast on YouTube, that you're actually physically watching it, in the comments below, Brittany, what's your husband's name?
Kevin?
Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in the comments below, you should say, Kevin, you really need another Corgi. Kevin, you really need another Corgi.
We're in your corner, Brittany.
We're in your corner.
Ya.
We got you back. We got you back.
That's one more dog. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. We already have 4.
That's right. What's one more?
Just potty train the toddler and the new puppy at the same time. It'll be easy.
So simple. So simple.
Well, I love this. We just had a guest in recently who he went through these great lengths. I think he's going to breed, but I'm real careful with that because we don't recommend any one breeder. We like to tell people what to look for, and we have a whole segment on that. What makes a good breeder, and we're all pro rescue. So if you can rescue, but if you go to a breeder, what tests and things. But I digress. He was here with his puppy that he went to great lengths to get a Russian. Right?
Yes,
Russian Corgi, Russian bloodline. But they were actually guests in studio, and it was really funny. His name's Tank, super cute. But Tank and Digby knocked down our lighting mid-broadcast because they were having zoomies in the studio. But we had a long conversation about the way breeding is done now versus when it used to be done, and how training has changed. And so I love so much your perspective on taking the dogs into consideration as babies and part of the family as well, because it hasn't always been like that.
No,
it used to be a very alpha beta type of relationship, and people would, want, and I've heard that, and it's always very tragic when you do hear of people who will have children, their family will grow, and they're like, we can't keep the dog anymore, and it's always heartbreaking because I can't imagine. Of course, that sounds terrible, but it's hard. You can't imagine their side of it. Who knows?
Right.
And so it's just you hear about that, but to think of how things have changed from how it used to be, the dogs are here to serve me, they do what I say. Now I feel like as a society, or at least I like to think it's a lot more widespread, that we're much more cognizant of these animals have thoughts and feelings, and they consider themselves as pack members of our own family.
That's right.
And
they do.
The positive reinforcement and just the consideration like you give your pet is like, I think that's so awesome.
I think so. I have neighbors whose, I don't even think that they consider them pets. And unfortunately the dogs are out all the time, and no matter what the weather, and we're here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is not great, but why bother?
Yeah, if you stuck them outside. Well, that Booger, when I got Booger, my girl rescue, she was poked outside. She was stuck outside. She wasn't potty trained. She was supposed to be 2 when I got her. Now we're thinking she was 4. But she had never been inside, I don't think, ever.
Right.
And her teeth were black. She was so full of fleas. She was so full. We thought she was overweight. She was so full of flea dirt that when we dipped her, we were like, oh, she's actually quite thin. That's how infested she was.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I'm like, and she's the sweetest little girl.
She's the sweetest little girl. So
not that she would have deserved it if she weren't, but I mean, it's just, I should watch what I say, but I mean, it's just to think that anybody would say, oh, I'm going to get a dog. And then they stick them outside, and
so the dog is definitely part of the family. So consider that if you are, I'm going to say, and Brittany, I'm going to guess that you did this, you got the dogs when you were single. You had the thought in your head, I'm going to guess, when, if you hadn't met Kevin already, but when you did, hey, let's have kids, because these are the things you talk about. Just saying. And, consider all of these things when you get your pup, or when you have kids, and then you bring home the pup or the cat or any fur baby. Even me with the chickens, there's a certain amount of consideration. They're livestock, but for me, they're also family.
I so thought Digby was going to eat those chickens.
Yeah, well,
No, I want chickens.
he keeps trying. He
Yeah.
keeps trying.
Well, Cat has a Corgi and chickens.
I have
so-
a Corgi and chickens. Ne'er the two shall meet, because he wants to eat them.
Okay, that was my next question. So.
He's been in the coop before, though.
He's been in the coop, but he tries to get any of the other birds that are in the coop, and he did manage to kill one, not a chicken. Yeah, he did.
It's a present, Mom.
It's
a trophy.
That is exactly what he did. He barks at the chickens. He'll run back and forth next to their run. I don't trust him with the chickens. I don't trust most dogs
Probably
with
not
chickens.
unsupervised anyway.
Yeah, absolutely not unsupervised. That being said, I don't really have a hard time having a Corgi, and having the Corgi in the chicken area, not directly in the run. But
Well, they're herders. They're
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
breeds. So
Oh, they try to herd the littles too. So mine will try to sometimes nip at her heels. She doesn't get mad, but it's just kind of part of it. So,
well, it's an instinctive. How do you normally handle that? Because it's not something you can really curb.
Yeah, we
No.
just try to correct the behavior and tell them no nipping. I don't really care if we chase her around. She can get away. So, and she chases them. So I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of ask for it, but we just try to correct it. It's normally Bernie. He's much more of a herder than Oliver is. So we've just been working on it. We don't leave them unsupervised. Very similar to the chickens. I would never leave them with her alone because I don't trust her. So I don't trust her not to irritate them.
I trust my Corgis. I don't trust my child. That's really good. But
I don't think she said that.
yeah, so she did. But coming back around, if you're considering, especially a Corgi, now that I've been a Corgi mom for a good 6-8 months, especially if you're considering a Corgi, consider, what is my future family going to look like?
Yeah. Good point.
What to do was, does the Corgi get along with the dog? And everybody's getting along well. Everybody's in studio right now. So this is,
Well, and it
just
sounds like
consider.
Brittany's done a really good job of doing that, considering the family. And I'm going to share it for our viewers. If you want to see these beautiful babies, you can follow Instagram, Oliver and Bernie the Corgis. It's one word. So for those listening, it's Oliver and Bernie the Corgis, all one word on Instagram.
Yes.
So, and I have one last question for you, Brittany. I know that your baby girl's going to wake up soon, and she's going to need your attention. So we don't want to keep you too long. So, but the question is, so now that we know how busy you are, and you have a career as well, and you have a baby on the way, and you're mom to a beautiful little girl, and all these wonderful dogs, and you're a wife. My question is that to me, that's a lot. And those are wonderful things, and they sound like wonderful gifts. But being a human, all those things take your time and attention.
Mm-hmm.
And often what we hear is how, and I can attest to this, I don't know where I would be without my Corgis. I'm prone to depression and anxiety, and they keep me going. There are days, and I think anybody out there who does tend to suffer with things like this, that that they just, the days where it's hard to keep going, they give you kind of that reason.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you feel like having them, the Corgis, the pets, all of them, do you feel like they help keep your spirits up, kind of give you that kind of boost mentally?
Oh, yes, because my dogs love me unconditionally always. And so,
Always.
When you're feeling really bad about yourself or having one of those days, I can come home and they look at me like I hung the moon. They're the sweetest. They definitely have been kind of a saver for me. I had a pretty dark spot in my life when I got Oliver, and I kind of think he helped pull me out of it. So that was part of the reason why we got the other one. And I think that they just have a tendency to bring a bunch of sunshine with them. So I always feel better when I'm around them.
Aw.
Oh, comedian Bill Burr has a whole segment on, or a whole bit about, I guess his girlfriend brought home a rescue dog. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but she brought home a rescue dog, and he was a pit bull, or it was a girl. He said she was a pit bull, and she said, "Oh, I got her from the LA River." And he's like, "You brought a killer into my house when I'm on tour." And he said, "You fast forward 3 weeks later, and he's like, watch me get her leg going," and he's snuggling with her on the couch, and the girlfriend's getting jealous. But he has this whole bit about, he says, if I'm out late and I stay out to the bar at the bar till 3 a.m., you're not at the door wiggling your butt when I come home. Like, this dog is really special.
That's right.
There's a whole bit about it.
They are.
Well, thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate it. And we would love to have you again in the future if you're open to it when the other baby comes, if you want to talk about your growing family and
Absolutely
how everybody's adjusting. And I mean, I consider you an expert of having corgis and bringing babies home.
Yes, of course. I'd love to.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. So again, anybody listening, if you want to follow Instagram, Oliver and Bernie the Corgis, Brittany Steinkirchner. I mean, every time I say it, I know I've said it a few times. Every time I try to not butcher it. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Have a great one.
Thank you. So for everyone listening, everyone watching, we hope that you found this information very useful. And I'm so glad to talk to her and the expert. And I love that. I wasn't expecting, not that I would, but I wasn't expecting, all this. Oh, we put our dogs, we make them part of the family. We give them their own space.
Yeah.
Just as much consideration of the corgis and the other pets in the house as the baby. I mean, I'm just so incredibly touched by that.
Right. And it's very touching, and it's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Incredibly
Definitely.
smart. Yeah. So, the smart way is the loving way.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
we're, if those of you listening, those of you viewing, if you're out there watching, listening, it sounds like you should pop into the comments and tell Brittany's husband Kevin that she definitely needs another one.
Corgi. Yeah.
But other than that, if you are bringing home baby and you have corgis and you have questions, you can follow Oliver and Bernie the Corgis on Instagram. You can also reach out to us. If you're not following us on Instagram, please follow us at Corgi Town USA. And listen to our podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on our YouTube page. And we're going to sign off for tonight. We thank you so much for joining us. That's Candy, Kat, Chuckles, Digby, and Wiggin today.
Yes.
On Corgi Town USA.
Bye.